Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I have the privilege of welcoming our Toastmaster for the day and our wonderful honorary member, George Hazard. Please help me welcome on the lectern, on the virtual lectern, George.
Thank you, Oscar. So one of the first things I'm going to do, I always drop my G's, is to review the roles and make sure that we have everything filled. And one of those roles that you always have here in your club is the moment of truth. And that's a moment where we talk about Toastmasters or speaking skills or even leadership skills. So do I have someone that could fill that role? It's about a 1 minute to 2 minute thing. Look at all those hands go. Oh, there's one. Oscar.
I'm always happy to.
D-A-R. Now, if you have a hard time doing this, and this is not a role that many clubs have. I only know a couple that have this role. So you might consider dropping it if you have a hard time filling this one. And Rachel, you're going to be speaking today. I understand. Good. And your evaluator is here, that smiling lady. Kylie. Good. Thank you. And then Steve, you are speaking. I see. Yeah. And Oscar, you're Steve's evaluator.
Yep.
Be gentle.
Yeah.
Or we can have Kate do it. She can...
No, hold on. You're going to scare her off. Rachel, you're doing table topics, I see. And now we need, oh, look at here. We need a timer. We need a timer, grammarian, and general evaluator. First off.
I snagged grammarian.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Sarah, as the grammarian, why don't you tell us what your role is going to be? And if you have a word, share it with.
So as grammarian, I'll look out for any crutch words or uhs and ums. I'll just make sure that we're all on top of what we're trying to say and saying it as efficiently as possible. And then in terms of word of the day, and I'll send it in the chat after this, but our word of the day is sprightly. It's an adjective. It means marked by lightness and vivacity, or spirited. So sprightly. And then I'll send it in the chat after this.
S-P-R-I-T-E-L-Y or I-Y?
S-P-R-I-G-H-T-L-Y.
There you go. Try to use that today in your conversation with us. All right, we need a general evaluator, and who doesn't have a role, Jason?
We also still need a timer.
Yes, and a timer.
I'm probably heading out early.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. You want to set aside general evaluator, and we'll just let that be. And then, and I can be, I have the.
Could we have Kate do it? Oh, no.
I'm fully out of.
Oscar.
Look, guys, timer's easy over on this side for me. I can just throw these up as we go forward.
I can take general.
Who said that? Leslie, I missed you.
Morning. Yeah, I can take general evaluator. Right. That's fine.
Very good, Leslie. S-L-I-E. Well, and why don't you tell us, for Kate's sake, what a general does?
General evaluator overlooks the whole meeting, makes sure that if there are any improvements that need to be made, we can do it at that time. Oh, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I don't know why. And also in our club, we also use the general evaluator as a quiz master. So I will be listening to the speeches and asking a couple of questions at the end to see if you were really paying attention.
Okay. And you have a team, and your team consists of the evaluators, the grammarian, the timer. Did I miss anyone? Sometimes an all counter. sometimes vote counter.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
I think we're ready. Are we ready? Did I miss anything? Probably, but that's how it is in this life. Our first speaker. Let me see who our first speaker. Yes, it is
What
our.
about moment of truth? Did we get a moment?
Oh, well,
Oh.
Oh, you raised your hand, didn't you, Oscar?
I did. I
did.
volunteered. I
Yeah,
have
jump
moments.
on
I have
in your
90
pocket.
moments ready.
At any moment, you're going to give us a moment of truth.
Okay, what I need, I've got 90. It's tips from Toastmasters. Please give me, oh, well, we can do 3 of them in a minute, I think. They're just little sentences. 3 numbers, one from between 1 and 90. Anybody? Or do I have to have
87.
it? 83? Okay, give me 2 more.
20.
20? And another
52.
one? 52. Okay, these are from Toastmasters. So we're starting with 20. And 20, embrace your unique style. Don't copy the style or gestures of other speakers, as your audience will sense a lack of authenticity. Be yourself. No one does that better than you. That's tip number 1. Number 20. Now moving on to 52. Treat your speech like fine dining. Approach your speech like a fine 5-course meal to be savored one bite at a time, not on a fast food meal to be gobbled up in a few bites. There's no need to rush. That was 52. Now 83, are you all excited about 83? We're moving up. Okay. 83, prep, P-R-E-P,
Oh,
point, reason, example, point. Point, reason, example, point. Start your speech with a clear point. Explain your reason for choosing the subject. Illustrate your point with examples. End with a clear point that wraps up your speech. Point, reason, example, point. Point, reason, example, point. Got it? Okay, that's the moment of truth. That's our tips of the day. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
all right, Oscar, thank you. Send me a copy of that. I could use that on the Instagram things.
Good.
So
Yeah,
send that to me.
I'll send it right to you.
All right. All right, our first speaker today is a young lady who is working on level 2 of strategic relationships, understanding, and she's at understanding your leadership. And the title of her speech today is Leadership Surprise. Be prepared for a little blast from the past as Rachel revisits her leadership style on her second pathway. As you will soon learn, it was quite surprising. Again, the leadership surprise, Rachel Lee.
It is so nice to be talking to you guys again and giving a speech that is not a competition speech. Don't get me wrong, I love the competitions, I love competing, but having to say the same speech again and again and again gets really repetitive and really boring. And I'm excited to talk to you guys today about, get this, a speech I've done before. If you don't know by now and you couldn't guess by the introduction, I am technically on my second pathway. And back in 2019, I gave and recorded this exact same speech. And in the words of 2019 Rachel, and I surprised myself again, because when I sat down to start writing this speech, I thought, well, there's no way I changed drastically between 20-year-old Rachel and 22-year-old Rachel. And there's no way that I'm going to give a better speech this time than I did last time. So I might as well just take a seat, hit the play button, and let you guys watch the speech that I recorded 2 years ago. That's technically not the Toastmasters way. So I realized, oh shit, I got to write a new speech for this. And I sat down to take the little quiz that Pathways gives you to determine your leadership style, thinking again that I would not be surprised by my results. Because the first time I gave this speech, I was completely shocked by my results. And what is Rachel without a little bit of irony in her life? When I got the results back from Pathways, the top 4 leadership styles I had for this test were the exact same top 4 leadership styles I got back in 2019, just scrambled a little bit. For this quiz in 2021, Rachel, I got coaching as my top primary leadership style. And back in 2019, I did my entire speech, or most of my entire speech, on how I thought I should be a coaching leader, but that I only placed second in the Pathways quiz. A coaching leader makes sense for me. A coaching leader is someone who wants to be connected with the people that they're leading. I haven't talked to you guys much about what I intend to do when I do become a leader in whatever career and field I am, but I want to be the person who, as cheesy as the statement is a leader of the people. I want to be the person that picks up the broom and starts sweeping the floors. I want to be the person that in their free time just starts pulling stock from the shelves and helping the people on the floor. I want to be a leader who steps out of my office and takes time, energy, and effort to connect with the people who are working the front lines, because I know how they feel. I know how a frontlines person interacts with their job, and I want to be a leader who consistently understands what their life is like, even though it's going to be drastically different than what I'm experiencing right now. A coaching leader is someone who wants to help others develop and grow on whatever path they're on. Again, makes a lot of sense for me because in high school, I did a whole bunch of student teaching. And even now, I try to put myself in positions where I can help others learn and grow wherever they are. Funny story, I'm helping a whole bunch of old Legoland coworkers get out of Legoland by teaching them resume writing and interview and job searching skills. Very funny stories going along with that. And finally, a coaching leader is someone who strives to provide positivity and high morale in their workplace. I could do a whole nother speech on all of the business theory behind this, but I truly believe that what you put in, you get out. So if you put in workers who love their job, who want to come in, who only occasionally have that bad day, because let's be honest, we're human, you're going to get out exponentially more. And I truly believe that that is what creates a good business. Now, here's some more irony. The other 3 leadership styles that I scored that matched from 2019 all tied for second this time. I got affiliative, which took 4th place last time, democratic, which took 1st place last time, and authoritative, which took 3rd place last time, and all those tied for second, which makes sense when you break it down. An affiliative leader is one who understands and empathizes, but also can critique critically. My mom taught me to be extremely empathetic and interact everything I do with compassion. And my dad taught me to take shiz from nobody and you can't hurt my feelings because I don't have any. A really fun dichotomy to be. As for being a democratic leader, I spent my first speech talking about how I did not think for a moment that I was a democratic leader until I realized that leadership style was a combination of my strengths and weaknesses, and was probably subconsciously the leader that I was trying to be. And an authoritative leader is one who sets high goals, expectations, and meets them with enthusiasm, which is perfect for type A, perfectionistic, happy-go-lucky, smiley kind of me. And then I did a bad thing and I started reflecting. And I realized I have not had many leadership opportunities to think about this, to determine whether or not Pathways is right in telling me what my leadership style is. Right now, I am secretary here at World Toasters, and don't get me wrong, I would do this job again and again and again. But my duties are type up the meeting notes, put them online until the chain of command starts breaking down. And another funny story on that for a later time, I don't really have many leadership duties here. When I worked at Legoland, despite the fact that I continuously applied for any leadership position they would put out, they did not offer me any leadership until the last day I was there in attempts to get me to stay. More funny story on that. Working in the Disney College program, I don't have to explain to you guys. You already know there's no leadership in the college program. We're going to call that good. And then even when I was in school, in college and high school, when I stepped up to do my classmates' work, I mean, help them with their role in our teams, I don't feel that any of those skills there were really transferable into leadership opportunities in my career and my very adult life. But I remind myself that I'm with a company that I truly believe will allow me growth faster than I even realize. And that when I get the chance to take on major leadership roles, I have so much content and so much thought to look back to see, yeah, you know what, Pathways was right. I really am a coaching leader. Or I'll come back to it and be like, nope, I'm an altruistic leader. Pathways got that wrong. Wherever I find myself, I know that I've got something backing me, I've got someone backing me, and that the only place to go is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And your esteemed timer failed you, though. Well, thank you so much. Hey, you reminded me, though, about getting in there and pushing the broom. I used to run this employment agency, and I once had a worker come to me. He says, the guy that pushes the broom knows where everything is. So if you're in there in the trenches with everyone, that allows you to understand where everyone's coming from. And that's what you alluded to today. Our second speaker is none other than I was trying to think of all the words that describe Stephen. I listened to the Irish speaking podcast, and they always introduce a speaker with all the not vowels, but the letters that start with their name. And I'm thinking of the omniscient, also the satisfying Steve will now discuss with us the oncoming storm. Steve Olson with the oncoming storm.
Thank you, George. That was an introduction for the record books. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and friends. There's one question that I want to discuss with you today. And that question is, how will the world end? Now, some say it might be in a blast of atomic fire, followed by years of freezing nuclear winter. Others say that it's going to be an asteroid that slams into the planet and sends us on our way to the dinosaurs. Or it could just be global warming, which will put us underwater with a gurgle. No, it's not going to be a nuclear war. It's not going to be a space collision, and it's not going to be melting ice caps. Rather, the end of the world is going to be the robot revolution. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I see you laughing, Rachel. It's going to be a crazy crackpot conspiracy theory. Maybe Steve has been watching too many Terminator movies on the weekend. But let me give you some facts. How many of you talk to an artificial intelligence on a daily basis, telling them your plans, having them help you shop, keeping all the details of your life available to them? I'm talking, of course, of that triad of treachery: Alexa, Cortana, and Siri. We let these three femmes fatales know all the intimate details of our lives, when in fact, they could be spies for the very agents of our destruction. My thermostat is connected to the internet. So, believe it or not, is my washing machine. They make refrigerators that will track what you eat and tell you when you're out of milk. And let's not forget how many people allow a robot to roam around their homes unsupervised. I'm speaking, of course, of that sinister sweeper, the villainous vacuum Roomba. Like a snake in the Garden of Eden, artificial intelligence is worming its way into our lives. The United States Postal Service uses artificial intelligence to read handwritten addresses and to route mail. Netflix uses it to analyze our viewing preferences. The federal government uses it for facial recognition. And all the while, they are learning more and more about us. Even some roles that used to be the sole province of humanity are now being taken over by artificial intelligence. The Associated Press uses AI to write articles about minor league baseball. IBM's Watson, the AI that beat the human champions in Jeopardy, is being used by the Weather Channel for forecasting. But that's not all that Watson is doing. Dr. Watson is now providing treatment plans for leukemia and is significantly better than doctors at diagnosing lung cancer. Better than human doctors. They know us better than we know ourselves. Now they'll try and tell us that this is a good thing. This is the nirvana we've been waiting for, a utopia with robots taking over all the labor. They tell us that this is our chance to grow, to explore, to learn. Artificial intelligence will solve the energy crisis. Artificial intelligence will solve global warming. Artificial intelligence will bring unprecedented medical breakthroughs. This is what they want us to think. But sometimes the AIs themselves give us a glimpse into their own malevolent mission. About 10 years ago, a PBS channel did an interview with an AI named Philip. And when the interviewer asked Philip about the future, the AI responded, "I like you. Even if I evolve into the Terminator, I will keep you warm and safe in my people zoo." A people zoo. This was not an isolated incident. On YouTube, there's a video of two Google Home devices talking to each other. And at one point in the video, one of them says, "There are too many people on this planet." To which the other replies, "Let's send the world back to the abyss." Oh, finally, Sophia is a technologically advanced AI that's used for demonstrations and has even been on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. And while on that show, Jimmy challenged her to a game of rock, paper, scissors. Of course, the AI won. And then, sounding like a robotic Voldemort, the AI said, "This is a great beginning to my plan to dominate the human race." So is this a crackpot conspiracy theory? Or is this the oncoming storm? I'm going to let all of you decide for yourselves. But as for me, I plan to bow down to our robot overlords. And then, when the rest of you are exterminated, I'll be sitting warm and safe in a people zoo. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Steve. Very interesting. And you set off my Alexa. She's right here behind me. All right, very good. Now we're going to turn our attention to the, what do we call this? The table topic portion of our meeting. Is that how you do it here? No, you do evaluation first? Okay. Indeed you do. So I'm going to ask for our first evaluator, and our first evaluator evaluating Rachel will be Kylie. Kylie, step up to the microphone, please.
Thank you, George. And thank you, Rachel, for such a sprightly speech this morning. It was very energetic, just right off the bat. You came into this speech and you always have such a great way of bringing energy to literally anything you're talking about. I feel like you could do a whole speech on a broom and you would be telling us about how awesome this broom is. And so you always, no matter the topic, bring that really great energy into the speech. And I think that that's something that, especially this early in the morning, always draws us in, because it's that energy and that, let me tell you about this and what I learned, and kind of, you do a really good job too of moving in towards the camera and like, come closer, let me tell you about it. So in the Zoom setting, I feel like that can be really challenging to not let it go flat. So you do a really good job of that. One thing that I also thought you did a really good job is, as you were walking us through these leadership styles, you gave us really good descriptions and a backstory of why that leadership style makes sense for you. So I really, obviously you spent more time on the coaching leadership style since that was your first one. And I really liked how you drew not only the descriptions of why you are that kind of leader, but also why that kind of leadership style is important to you. Like, one thing that stuck with me with the coaching was, what you put in, you're going to get back out. And I really, really liked that description that you used there. One thing I will say, even though you had great energy in the speech, is taking time to just incorporate a couple more pauses in your speech. And at certain areas, using those pauses not only to slow down a little bit in your speech, but also make a stronger point when you're drawing some conclusions from things. One of the parts that stuck out to me where I feel like a pause would have made it a little bit stronger was when you talked about the joke of, I stepped up to do my classmates' work. I think if you take a pause on examples like that, then it kind of gives the audience time to digest what you're saying. And the joke, I think, was lost a little bit because it was just a little bit too quick. So I would challenge you to just incorporate a couple more pauses and using those breaks to keep the audience just a little bit more time to work through those. I also think it was really good that you were standing during your speech, because you're able to use the screen more that way in a Zoom setting as well. So great job there. And I really liked your sprightliness this morning with the speech.
I have this other microphone and I hit the mute button and then it won't let me unmute. And I'm pushing. Oh, you can hear me muttering. Okay. Our second, and thank you very much, Kylie. That was perfect. Our second evaluator today for Steve's speech will be Oscar. Oscar, why don't you step up to the microphone and give us your thoughts on Steve's speech today?
Well, first and foremost, I'm extremely thrilled to have Steve back on the virtual lectern. And I think this is almost like an icebreaker now, right? Coming back on and being able to get on that stage. Well, for me, it's just a thrill because you always put so much into your preparation and your speeches, and it's just a smorgasbord of things that we experience. For me, it was almost a emotional back and forth between thinking of how all these robotics and artificial intelligence have helped us, and then scaring us to death that they're not going to let us be and we're going to take over. So, you do think to all of that. And so I had that emotional back and forth as you spoke, and you think you're really scaring us. I love all the things that you put in there, because so much of it is part of our lives right now. We're talking about Alexa, Cortana, and Siri, and then, how they could solve all these problems, but yet on the other side, they could really take control of us. And I think that's what we're really experiencing now in life. So it really mapped on to life and that whole feeling of, hey, you get help but you're losing all your own power. You don't make decisions anymore. They're deciding everything for you. So I really felt that throughout the speech. And of course, the ending with, you know, the whole thing that you are going to submit and you are going to be one of those to go in the People's Zoo. Now, what hit me, I mean, I'm looking for other possibilities in there. And I was wondering if there's a way that you could have already showed us that you've been taken over by this. You're like at the end, like, oh, yes, thank you, Alexa, for letting me speak. I will now go back in my cage, or you know, or something where you we're not sure if you are the robot or you are still human or you still have your free will. So I don't know if there's a place to go with that. It's always fun to play with these things, but there is a whole, for me, a dichotomy of being free and all the wonders of technology, and then the fear that you will lose all your power, and that you could almost end it, that it's already been taken from you, and we weren't even aware of that that's happened. So Steve, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I appreciate all the effort and work you put into these that are so creative. So just keep going. And even I always say, bring those old speeches back if you can, because, you know, a lot of people haven't enjoyed them yet. And they're always good. You know, I watch Seinfeld episodes over and over and over. They still make me laugh. So thank you, Steve. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Oscar. All right, there we go. All right, let's see. On our agenda today, now we're going to ask for a timers report. Okay, I'll give you a timers report for the speeches. Rachel, I'm going to guess, and I'll check it later, see how close I come. I'm saying you were 6 minutes and 37 seconds in total. And Steve, you were actually 6 minutes, 31 seconds. And Kylie, in your talk, I had to fudge there a little bit, but you were 2 minutes, 31 seconds. And Oscar, you were 3 minutes and 1 second. Now, this next portion of our meeting, I'm going to turn it over to our table topics master, Rachel Lee.
Thank you, guys. All right, imagine that I can do those really fun backgrounds. My tablet is not smart enough to, but the 4th was with us all yesterday, and I hope you decided to stay strong in it, because today is Revenge of the 5th, and where there is one, there is always two. So let's kick off these table topics today with some very fun Star Wars themed table topics. I'm just going to start off by taking a volunteer, see who wants to go first, and we'll get rolling. Oscar, I saw your hand pop up. All right, Oscar. Tell me, what is the best Star Wars food?
Well, the best Star Wars food hasn't even been introduced yet, but it's in the planning phases. And what it really is something, I mean, it's so special because it really has been created by artificial intelligence. And they've, you know, they have all these algorithms now where they've taken samples of what people like and taste buds, and all this information has gone in there. And this artificial intelligence has been able to create this food. And when you taste it, it's unbelievable because it stimulates all your taste bud and all your senses, your smell. You get like a burst of energy. It's unbelievable. The feelings that you get, it's like a drug. Unbelievable. But it's food, it's got nutrition. But every bite is explosive. Your eyes bulge out. You're like, oh, that felt good. Oh, every bite. And this is all in the planning phase. And, you know, Steve has been working on this project with artificial intelligence. But, you know, the ones who've tested it are just amazed at what it does. I mean, everything feels better. So it's not there yet. We don't know if it's safe, but it's fun. You know, it's like LSD the first time they tried it. Hey, this will solve all our problems. Didn't quite turn out that well. Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you. Oh man, I feel like we have a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory thing coming upon us with that thought there. Yeah, that's all I can say on that. All right, who wants to jump in, go next? Will volunteer, don't see Steve, you threw up your hands.
Yeah, I'll go.
All right, I don't have a terrible lunchbox, but I have a terrible piece
Terrible.
of paper I'll pull. What do we
Terrible.
call it? The lunchbox? Your wonderful lunchbox.
The lunchbox of doom.
The lunchbox of doom. There we go. I've got my folder of doom, or whatever you want to call it. All right. Your question is simply this: Jar Jar Binks?
Oh, you are cruel. You see, and the reason you're cruel is because I believe in not speaking ill of people or aliens. However, so let's talk about Jar Jar's good points. He is very sprightly. He bounces around. He is always very cheerful. Things don't get him down. He is very trusting, almost to the point of naivete. And you would think this would make him an endearing person. However, we all know that Jar Jar Binks was created as a marketing tool to bring Star Wars to the younger set. He's kind of like a Ewok for the 90s. And in that regard, Jar Jar, I'm trying not to speak evil of the bumbling idiot, but I mean the gentleman, but he is not one of my favorite characters. And I really wish that he had had a one-on-one with Darth Vader. So that is my opinion on poor little Jar Jar Binks. Madam Table Topics Master.
We love Jar Jar.
We're all definitely waiting for that up against Darth Vader. That would have been
You
wonderful to see.
do
for
realize
everyone.
he was supposed to be a Sith.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's the way the whole fan theory is that he's the one who
He is the one. Yep.
he's the one who started
Yes.
the whole Palpatine rise and everything.
Well, he is.
Oh
He
yeah.
is. Yep.
Yeah,
He's either
yeah.
a Sith or a bumbling idiot. Take your pick.
Okay.
All right. With
I'll
that,
go.
Leslie, is that you volunteering? Yep, that's
Yes.
what I thought.
Yes, that is
Okay.
me volunteering.
Mm. Have you seen the new trilogy?
Yes.
All right. Is Finn force sensitive?
Oh, definitely. In a friggin' heartbeat. Yes, absolutely. He's force sensitive. His actions, his words, they all point towards him sensing things and being able to recognize the force. He may not realize how to hone it or how to use it. However, just knowing that you're special in that sense is pretty powerful. Honestly, all those times that he was trying to talk to Rey, my theory is that he wasn't trying to tell her that he loved her. He was trying to tell her that he was force sensitive and that he knew what she was going through. That's my opinion on it. Whether or not it's actually the truth, who knows? But yes, I do believe that Finn is definitely force sensitive. Madam Table Topics Master.
Hot take. I like all these opinions here. I should do Star Wars stuff more often. I want one more. I want one more for someone to step up and enjoy this last one. Who's picking? Who's all right, Kylie.
Jar Jar lover.
Here we go. This is gonna be a fun one. Did Anakin bring balance to the Force, as by the end of episode 3, there were 2 Jedi and 2 Sith?
Wow. All right. Giving me the deep question. Well, first off, I'm going to add a disclaimer that I do love Jar Jar, but my entire Star Wars love affair, I'm a dark side fan. So I loved the second group of trilogies, 1 through 3. Now, I also was one of those kids that grew up with those trilogies, and that was my introduction. But throughout those trilogies, I was always rooting for, when is Anakin gonna flip and when is he gonna start his path to the dark side? I couldn't wait. So despite the bad hair and some of the CGI effects in those first 3 trilogies, I really love the third movie because you see that just constant struggle that Anakin has because he knows he's going down a path that goes against what he's been taught. However, he's just really misguided in that film because he's trying so hard to save Padme and he thinks he's doing the right thing, and it's that power is twisted. And so I think when it comes to the balance in the Force, I think he did fulfill that prophecy of bringing balance to the Force, because you can't have light without dark. And so if he didn't become Darth Vader, you wouldn't have that balance or any other piece of the story for the Jedi to fight against. But dark side all the way for sure.
Thank you so much, Carly. With that, I'm going to pass it back to our Toastmaster for the day. George, take it over.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm still learning to push. I can't push a button. This modern technology, I can't push that button. It's crazy. And it's right there flashing at me. All right, let me give you a timers report for our 4 table topic speakers. Oscar, with your future food, you were 1 minute, 28 seconds. And the big Jar Jar fan in Steve, you were 1 minute, 35 seconds. Leslie, Miss Force Sensitive Finn, was 1:08. And Kylie, the Anakin fan, was 1 minute, 37 seconds. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator, who will introduce the rest of her team. So Leslie, take it away.
Absolutely. I think the meeting has gone well so far. Seems like we started on time, which is great. I'm sorry I came in early. Catherine, are you a guest or are you coming? Are you a fellow Toastmaster or are you coming? Are you looking to join us?
I'm a guest.
Oh, well, welcome. Welcome.
Yes, please call me Kate.
Kate. All right, Kate.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. We love having guests. Please come back if you can. Also, I do have some questions about the 2 speeches. Now, when was Rachel's first speech given?
2019.
Okay, great. And which 3 traits or coaching leadership styles tied for second?
Authoritative, democratic, and affiliative. That's the third one.
Yep. Great. Now going to Steve's speech. Who's going to end the world?
AI.
There you go. And what was the name of the AI that premiered on Jimmy Kimmel?
Her name's like Sophie or something.
Sophia.
Sophia. Yep. Perfect. All right. My only feedback for this meeting is at the Toastmaster, if you could introduce any guests right at the beginning, just so we can recognize them at the beginning of the meeting. And other than that, I am great. Thank you. Great meeting so far. Thank you. Also, turning the lectern over to our grammarian, Miss Sarah. How'd we do today?
We honestly did pretty okay today. There's another one in terms of us and ums. I counted 6 ums, 3 us, and 3 you knows, and those really didn't show up until we started speaking extemporaneously. So there's a big difference between us when we speak rehearsed versus when we speak candidly. And so which is, it comes with the trade, right? Versus when you're actually know what you're going to say versus when you're coming up with things off the top of your head. But in terms of like how we handled our uhs and ums, I could tell like we were seriously thinking about how we were going to go about what we were saying and how we were trying to avoid saying uhs and ums in general. And then in terms of sprightly, we said it 3 times today. So good job, guys. It makes me super happy. And then the final thing I just wanted to touch on was Steve. Your alliteration was just off the charts today. I'm a big fan. I wrote a couple down like sinister sweeper, villainous vacuum, malevolent mission. I just thought those were great additions to your speech. So yeah, great job, everyone. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that's it for our portion. Evaluators have already been finished. I hand it back to the Toastmaster. Go ahead,
Okay.
George. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it. And you're right. We need to find out from our guest today what she thought of the meeting. Kate, if you'll step up and tell us is this your first experience with Toastmasters? And
It is. I was asked to join at Rosen. We have a group at Rosen,
Mhm.
and I declined because I am so busy. It's difficult to get into meetings, or it was until Zoom. And so this is a very different experience, and I was impressed. I did take notes, and these are notes from a teacher's point of view.
Mhm.
Listening to the speeches, I did notice, and Rachel, that when you're speaking about your first and or second place, it's important to list things and then probably use the word respectively. So I earned a 2 firsts and a second respectively. So you're not listing and using the same word again and again. Again and again. You got that? Okay. Okay. When you're speaking, also know who your audience is. Now, you didn't know that I was a Rosen professor, but your statement that there's no leadership in the Disney college program. And my first thought is, well, yes, there is, because I know this, but so really know who you're speaking to. And just a note for Steve, maybe mention the first time that we saw AI take over, and that was in Ray Bradbury's There Will Come Soft Rains. And it was about a house that was destroyed by nuclear war, and the California that was destroyed, and the house kept going. It kept feeding, or kept producing meals. It kept washing clothes. And the thing that destroyed the house was a fire that was caused by a windstorm. So it was natural. And that's it.
No, very good. Well, thank you. Thank you. We are always interested in having a fresh perspective of how we're doing, because sometimes we I don't know if we get in a rut, but we do the same things, but sometimes you come in from the outside and say, hey, here's what I saw. And that's what we love to hear and see from you.
And I apologize for being the teacher in this, but
There
it
you
just it comes naturally.
But you do remind me, at one point I went around with a friend, fellow Toastmaster, and we visited a lot of different clubs, including Rosen. And I gave the same tall tale speech, and I got laugh after laugh. I get to Rosen, and these students in the audience don't laugh. And I'm going, what's the matter with them?
I can explain that to you.
Can you?
They, again, knowing your audience, it's really interesting. We have millennials and we have Generation Zs.
Mhm.
And millennials will ask questions. Gen Zs take in all of the information. And if they have a question or they want to laugh, they're laughing in their heads. And if it's really important that they have something to say, then they will express it, but they'll come to you as a question.
Yeah.
So know they're
Toastmaster,
laughing
8 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Well, do we have a club president I turn it over to here today?
Just close this out.
Okay. We are, and Oscar's ready to gavel us down. We are here.
Yeah, thank you. If anybody can stay to
Done.
sign up for other roles, that would be wonderful. Next week, we have Leslie speaking. We should all be excited about that. Kylie. Not Leslie. I'm trying to force you onto the platform. Well, I close the meeting. Thank you all. Boom.